Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. This is your host, Mike, with his wife. Yes, I get to say that now, wife, Firecracker on two wheels, and our good friend, Bagger Bader, who's our co host here tonight. If you're watching this live right now on YouTube, thanks for being here. If you're catching this as a replay on a podcast and you would like to participate in the live audience, make sure you head over to Writing in the Ozarks on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, make sure you set that bell to all so you'll be notified when we do lives as well. And then you can join in all the shenanigans and the fun here. All right. So what's up, Bagger man? We skipped a couple weeks ago. We had a lot going on after we got back from the wedding, so we took a week off there, but we're back on schedule. So how you been, man?
I've been hanging in there. Yeah, I've just been getting some riding in. So that was good.
That's a prime choice of words, but that's not what the ladies say. But okay.
Hey, don't I need to correct you? What isn't the correct biker term for wife old lady?
Yeah, see how that works for you. Just because you're 3.5 hours away doesn't mean she won't come whoop your ass.
Yeah, I can imagine.
All right, everybody. We got some people in the chat here. Everybody chime in so we can say hi to everybody. Our buddy Lloyd Blake is there, man. We missed you. We were hoping to see you during Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, buddy. And then Ray's Moto Life is in the chat. Jay Sorsby, our wonderful cameraman from the wedding and stuff. There's Christian, man. Good evening, Christian. Good to see you there. Evil Rick is in the house. Hopefully we got some more people join us. We got 14 people or 15 people watching. Somebody throw out a chat there and let us know who else is out here.
15 of the smartest son of a bitches in the world right there.
Well, we're going to talk about Harley-Davidson news tonight. Now, I got a list of things we're going to run through because there's been a lot of stuff in the last month and a half really about Harley-Davidson in the news, some good, some bad. There's the Wagonators. They say, hey, everyone. So that's our friends Patty and Jerry. So I guess, we'll just kind of jump into it here. I did a video right at the end of August about the Harley-Davidson having a recall on the Softails. And then I did a follow-up video because there was some question about how I worded what the fix was. And then some pictures. I had somebody who watches the channel actually reach out and send me some pictures of the fix that was done. So I kind of did a video to clarify that and stuff. But they had a recall for 65,000 models, I think it was, back in August. And they've just been in and out of the news with good and bad stuff ever since. Jack's in the chat tonight. He said, hello, Bama's in here from Arkansas. Hey guys, glad you could join us tonight. So, there's Nick. That would be the best man, Nick Don. So,
the recalls. I was going to say those recalls were kind of small its, but still important, and I'm glad that they acknowledged the fact that those needed to be fixed.
Right, and I think they're pretty quick. But we've had 2 more recalls since the Softail recall we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about this whole debacle with the X350, the X500, kind of based on something that motorcycle.com put out, and everybody ran with it, not just me. I did a video on it, but I saw all kinds of magazine articles published about this. It was in my news feed for 2 or 3 days and stuff. And then, there's a recall in the CVO. We're going to talk about that, the X350. We're going to talk about sales for the 440, and we're going to talk about King of Baggers, and then probably third quarter results are coming out later this week. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And I got some kind of rumor mill stuff that's floating around. Me and Steve talked about. We're going to touch on at the end of the video here, or after all those other things. So first off, I kind of, motorcycle.com put this article out saying that they found stuff in the owner's manual for the X350, X500 that indicated they were coming to the U.S. because there's stuff in the owner's manual about U.S. customers and VIN identification and warranty and all this stuff. And so they put it out saying they think it's coming to the U.S. in 2024. I just did a video kind of bringing awareness to their article and wanted to know what people thought about that. And within 24 hours, I got a message from Harley-Davidson. And the official statement was, these motorcycles are made for the Asian market only and will not be coming to the U.S. Hey, Donnie, what's up, man? Our buddy Donnie's in the chat. 03 Road King has joined us. So, these are Chinese manufactured motorcycles. So I'd like to get you guys' opinion. You know, April, you've done a safety course. Now, how many years ago was it when you did the rider safety course?
I don't know. 5 years.
Exactly.
Pull out your license and see when you got your motorcycle endorsement.
I don't have them over here with me. At least 5 years.
So 5 years ago, she did the rider's course, and you took the, what kind of bikes did they have at the rider's course that you did? Do you remember what size they were?
Like Honda Rebel, Kawasaki. I don't know.
Little 250cc motorcycles.
Yeah, they sucked.
Yeah. So the 350 was built to be a riding academy bike here in the U.S., or it was built for Asian markets, but they're bringing the 350 over here for a riding academy bike. It kind of fits in that same class as those little bikes and stuff. And I kind of brought up the point that, can you imagine if you took the rider safety course or riding academy course on a bike, and then you got off and you're like, I kind of like this bike. Maybe it's my first bike. How much are they? And the sales guy says, oh yeah, you can't buy one. Not one like this from us. You can buy something similar from Kawasaki or Honda or someone else, but we don't have anything this small.
Yeah. Being in sales, when you made that point, it rang clear because, yeah, that's a blunder right there in my book. Harley should definitely be letting them ride something that they can purchase.
Well, and I get that they can say, oh, well, we don't have this model, but let me show you this or that. And, you know, I guess the other question is, I mean, Harley does the riding academy, and I think that's great that they do it. But is Harley-Davidson interested in new riders? I mean, brand new, just getting their license riders. I mean, do they have a bike that you think is well suited for a new rider here in the U.S.?
What's the lowest level Sportster? Not the Sportster S, but there's the
Nightster, the 975.
I mean, you know,
that's the only thing on the new list.
Maybe.
And then they got 883 still that you can pick up used and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Sportster was intended to be a sporty motorcycle. It was not intended to be an entry level motorcycle. Over the years, it's maybe horsepower wise not stayed up with some of the other brands and things, but you know, it's still not what I think. It's top heavy. It's tall. It's not what I think of as being an ideal beginner bike.
Do they still make that basics Softail, or did they get rid of that?
The Softail standard, they still have it.
Yeah. Okay, so that might be something you'd want to purchase if you're just getting your feet wet.
Yeah. So Firecracker, what you took the rider safety course and you actually got your first bike before you completed it, but you'd already enrolled in it when we purchased it. What did you get? You want to tell everybody that story that doesn't know?
What I got? I got
what was your first motorcycle?
2000 Dyna.
Sweet.
Purple, of course.
So you didn't really start out with what I told you I would recommend as a starter bike, did you? We've had this conversation.
Nope.
She had to have what she had to have.
Happy marriage.
Chase is in the audience here tonight. So,
a bike that I thought was a good bike was the Slim because it was so low to the ground. It was pretty much anybody could ride it. Even, I thought it was perfect for women as well. But
and Steve just said Softail Slim is not made anymore.
Right.
The standard is still made with the 107, and that's probably price wise not much different than the Nightster, the Nightster 975 special, or the Sportster S. They're probably all more power and more giddy up and go than the Softail standard with the 107 is. So
okay, so let me ask you this: do you think if they came out with a bike that was made for first time riders to buy, do you think people would actually go and buy one with the price? Not, when they could go get a Honda, and like you always told me, your first bike, if you're just learning to ride, go get something that you don't mind dropping or anything like that. So for their first bike, is it really worth them to go come up with a bike that's good for a first time rider?
That's
Well,
a great question.
and that's the kind of the thing, and that's why I wanted your opinion. But if you'd have bought a Honda Rebel, instead of a Dyna, would you still been dying to trade off and get a Harley within a year? I mean,
I
you
probably
were kind
still
of
would have.
already.
I did. The Rebel I felt was too small for me. I mean, I felt cramped on it. I don't think that it was a good fit for me because I did feel so cramped on it. I didn't feel comfortable on it. So I don't know that, but for some of these women that are shorter, that something, like a Rebel is good for them.
Yeah, because you're kind of
Well,
tall. You're about 5'7", 5'8".
I'm not that tall. I'm like 5'6", but
Okay.
I mean, still, I felt cramped on it myself.
Well, motoring the Galaxy says you grow out of them too quick, and I think that's part of the problem. We have a friend who she started out on her first bike is a 750 Spirit, and she's been riding it, and she's not been riding a lot. She's not super, I would say, comfortable on it, and her husband talked her into riding his VTX 1300. And after a couple of years of riding the 750 and barely riding the 750, and she's like, I feel so much more comfortable on this bike. So I don't know that that Harley needs to have an X350 or X500. I think it kind of, sucks from a sales standpoint that they can't say, oh yeah, we have this. Or, and maybe the pitch is you don't really want this except for on the training course. You're going to outgrow it in a year. Let me show you something that you can buy and not, regret a year later and wish you had something bigger. And maybe that's the sales pitch. I think it's double-edged sword both ways. And I don't know if there's a right answer to it, but I kind of just wanted to get you guys' feeling on it. But as of right now, it is not coming to the U.S. is the official statement from our friends at Harley-Davidson.
I know a gal pal of mine got licensed a couple years ago, went through the riding academy at a Harley dealership here locally. And as soon as it was over, they pushed her toward a Heritage. That was the big push.
I think a Heritage is actually one of the better starter bikes, low center of gravity. A lot of women feel more comfortable on it, low seat height. You won't outgrow it right away. I don't think that's a bad bike out of the Harley lineup. I think it's better than a Sportster for a starter bike.
And you got saddlebags, you can load some shit in there, all your cosmetics and whatever else chicks put on.
Tampons and makeup and, hair dryer. And
needless to say, you can go by the toy store.
You have room to go shopping and buy clothes, Harley clothes.
Yeah. So
that code for toys.
Yeah. So, since we're talking about the 350 and the 500, let's jump on over to the X440. I don't want to bore everybody with stuff that's not relevant to the U.S. market a whole lot, but the X440 is the bike that's being made in India for India only, and they came out with it in August, I think it was, for pre-orders. They launched it. They took pre-orders. They had 25,000 units in pre-orders and had to shut pre-orders down because they didn't even have them ready to go on the floor yet. So I think it was last week they started putting them out, and they put out like 1,000 the first day, to 100 dealers or something, 10 bikes each or whatever it was. But they started filling the pre-orders, 1,000 on the first day. And this bike from India, they actually raised the price already after the first round of pre-orders because it was selling so much faster than they anticipated. So it's not coming to the U.S. Nothing indicates it will or anything, but I don't think that is a bad business move on Harley-Davidson's part. India is a huge market, way bigger than the U.S. and Europe put together. And a little 440 is the right size bike in that area and stuff, So if the bike is a decent bike and the price is right, and this is done through a partnership with Hero. These are, actually being produced by Hero, but the design is with Harley and they're branded as a Harley. So I think financially that, if that works out, maybe that's a big influx of maybe licensing money or however that deal works. And it'll also help them with their market share overseas to have these models that they've not had in the past, these small CCC bikes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they've done their research and they realize that that type of bike's just not going to sell in the United States. They had that 500 and that 750 S or whatever they call it, street.
Yeah, the Street 500, the Street 750, and then they have the Night Rod.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like those went over well. So,
yeah. Now I did read a review, and they said that the X500 made in China was actually they thought better than the Street 500. So the X350 and the X500 are being sold in China, but they're also being sold in Asian markets, which technically includes Australia, even though it's not an Asian country. So these things have been showing up in Australia. People have been riding them there, things like that. So, we'll see how it turns out. But I think the whole 440 thing is just interesting, and I want people to know about it from a business standpoint, because if you think about it this way, Harley-Davidson's job is to make money. How they do that is by making motorcycles, but their job as a corporation is to make money and bring value to the stock for the stockholders. So if they can sell more motorcycles overseas in China and India and be profitable on that, that takes some pressure off to make all their profit on the other markets. And hopefully we won't maybe see as much inflation in the pricing and things like that, if they have these other business lines that can help support the company. And that's kind of, it's a stretch. You never know. They may still, the pricing may not change, but it's a hope, and hopefully it makes the company stronger financially and props them up better so that maybe they're more stable, more money for R&D or whatever else.
We've had so many, a lot of imports here in the United States so long, we don't even think about that factor. But while the Japanese market, the British market, German markets have been over here, they're doing the same thing. They're making money off of our dollars, selling their bikes in the United States. Why wouldn't Harley want to go global and try to capitalize on other markets?
Well, it's an interesting thing to see and kind of track what they're doing in the global markets and stuff. Bringing it back around to the U.S. and this is something I think Firecracker can get excited about. We're going to go see our first King of the Baggers race in March at Daytona, right, Firecracker?
Yep.
Well, she doesn't want to go all about
that.
Yes.
You'll hold my hand and sit beside me and buy me beer.
I don't know about holding your hand and buying your beer. I think you're going to be buying my drinks.
No.
King of the Baggers. I tell you, I've never been a big race guy, and I think I've mentioned this before. But I would love to go see a King of the Baggers race.
Well,
I suggest you go buy tickets and go to Daytona.
Not next.
You're going to know some people there.
Docket, but.
So they're expanding the races next year. They've announced, so the results are in for this year. And if you haven't been keeping up with it, Kyle Wyman is the most winningest racer in the King of the Baggers series since it started. He's won 12 of 24. There's a whole press release about that. I'll throw it up here on the screen. I took a slide shot of it. But essentially, Kyle is the most winning racer, 12 out of 24 events since the series started in 2021. Kyle stays on the team, and they're bringing in James Rispoli. Now, James Rispoli's been racing on Harley-Davidson's and King of the Baggers, but for Vance and Hines. And so he has been recruited over to the Harley-Davidson factory team. Kyle Wyman's younger brother, Travis, has been on the team, and he's out, but they thanked him for all of his support and helping build the team and everything else. But yeah, Kyle is still in. James is being brought over, and Travis is out, but they're going to be back next year. And it talks in here also about the fact that, or maybe not in here, but in an article I read, that they are going to have more races than they've had in the past. They're expanding it. So if you haven't kept track, originally it was like, one race a weekend. And then they started doing more tracks, and they started doing 2 races a weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday event. And now they're adding, I think, even more tracks. So this thing's picking up speed. It's taken off. There's super hooligan races. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't have a picture to throw up here, but Saddleman has built a super hooligan bike out of a Pan American. It's badass looking. Yeah. And so we have a contact at Saddleman. I asked him if he was going to be at Bike Week in March, and he's like, yeah, I'll be down with the bikes and stuff. I'm like, would love to meet you and say hi. And he's like, I'll see if I can get you in. So, that'd be really cool to go down and see Saddleman's bikes there on the track and stuff if that works out. But that's what's up. Now, King of the Baggers, I said Kyle came in third, but Harley-Davidson swept the podium for first, second, and third for the whole series because of the Vance and Hines team. So the podium was all Harley-Davidson riders, but there were only one of them was from the factory team. The other two were from Vance and Hines, I believe.
That's awesome because if memory serves me, Indian was whooping their ass at the beginning of this deal.
A little bit. And Indian's been plagued with some problems, mechanical wise, other things and stuff. And I think a lot of it really comes down to the riders. Tyler O'Hara is a great rider for them and stuff, but again, if the bike has the team, it's a team effort. So if they have a problem with setup or they have a mechanical problem with the build, it doesn't matter how good you can ride when the thing blows up. So I'm excited to be watching the first set of races next year in March. That's going to be really cool. I like to see some super hooligan stuff. My dad got to go watch it in Austin. He said it was kick ass. Now I took Firecracker to a flat track race. Oh, what, 4 or 5 years ago, babe?
I think, 4, I think.
And she couldn't sit down. Yeah. She was excited to watch it. She kept saying, why are there so many Indians and not any more Harleys on the track? And to be honest, that FTR 750 is like a purpose-built motorcycle. And that thing is badass. Indian's been kicking Harley's ass on the flat track so much that Harley has pulled out the flat track and they don't have a dedicated flat track team. There's no factory Harley-Davidson flat track team. So it's good to see them in the King of the Baggers. But they're also pulled out of the NHRA, I believe, when they killed the FXDR 114 a couple of years ago. So I would like to see maybe the King of the Baggers, they get it kind of that program on track and they start bringing factory race teams to some other types of motorsports, build something to get back into the flat track thing, take that Revolution Max and bring it down to a 750 to go against the FTR. Maybe that's where the Nightster's eventually going. I'd like to, see them build, a 1250 or something out of a Revolution Max and make a drag bike. I saw a really kick-ass looking picture of a Nightster with a freaking turbo on it from Australia here not too long ago.
Sweet.
King of the Baggers, August 16th to the 18th in Lexington, Ohio. Let's go. Ohio's not that far away, is it, honey?
That would be probably the closest to Kansas City, I've heard.
Well, is Lexington closer or further than Milwaukee? Because there's one up at Elkhart that's not, I think, not too far from Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's about 12 hours from here. So I don't know where Lexington is. Yeah.
We'll have to check it out. Somebody who can pull up Google Maps, let me know what's going to be closer.
I'm pulling it up.
Good girl.
Good Lord.
Well,
it's 582 miles to Lexington.
So about 6 hours.
It says 8 hours and 37 minutes.
8 hours and 37 minutes. I think we can do it under 7 if you don't complain about how fast I ride.
Correct. So that would be the closest.
And then 478 to Milwaukee. So really
put in Elkhart and see how much it is. Elkhart. But what would be kind of cool about Lexington, honey, is you could buy me tickets to that for my birthday. Because that's like the weekend after my birthday. You could tell me it was a birthday present.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Elkhart Lake.
Yeah, I think so. We're all sitting here in silence waiting.
535 miles.
So about the same for us. All right. So that's kind of what's up with the King of the Baggers. Want to fill everybody in on that. So the recall on the CVO, if you have not heard, I did a video on it. It's not a huge deal. I mean, we got 2,100 or 2,200 models, actual motorcycles that are affected by this and stuff. But it is a clamp that holds the brake line in place, and it can come loose, and the brake line can rub the exhaust, creating a pinhole, loss of pressure, possible braking issues. So that's what the CVO recall is about. So that's put them back in the news again with something that's a little less than positive, but they're fixing it. What I really found interesting from me prospectively is, I know, Steve, you ride a Road Glide, and I still consider you a friend, but I'm a Batwing guy. So 900 and I think 30 units were Batwings, and 11 or 1,200 units in the recall were Road Glides. So the Road Glide is outselling the Batwing on the CVO models at least.
Which is funny because when I bought my 17 Road Glide, I bought it because I wanted to be a little different. So because most of the guys I knew that I rode with had street glides, I wanted a Road Glide. And then, a couple years later, the Road Glide numbers start coming up.
But you don't have to worry. You're always going to be a little different.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like the Road Glide's picking up steam as far as popularity goes. For those of you that don't know, I rode my first Road Glide in my entire life in August. It's Sturgis. And of course, it had to be a $48,000 Road Glide. I mean, that was probably the only way they were going to get me to ride one, was to offer me one of those to ride a CVO. So yeah, new CVO. I rode the new CVO Street Glide, rode the new CVO Road Glide back to back, 50 miles on each. So I'm not sold, but I'm less opinionated on it than I used to be. Let's say that.
So let me ask you this: what's your one? The first couple of things that you don't like about the Road Glide? The look of it.
First is the look. Second is I don't like the dash that far away.
Yeah,
I'm used to Street Glide dash being closer, easier to touch.
Yeah,
and I'm not a huge fan of the look, but the bars on the new CVOs are better on the Road Glides from the factory than the Street Glides are.
They're a little higher, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a little taller. They have more adjustability, but that is something you still can fix on the Street Glide for, $500 or something like that. And if you're going to spend $48,000 on a motorcycle, $500 is not going to be the deciding factor.
I really thought on the CVO, when I heard about the info system being upgraded, I thought they would bring that closer to the rider like Indian did with their Challenger. I was a little shocked that didn't happen.
Well, it did not.
No.
Riding on threes agrees with the dash bit for sure. One of the biggest things I don't like about the Road Glide 3 compared to the Tri-Glides. Yeah, it's and for me, I'm sure you'll get used to it. You'll figure out the thumb controls, but if you can't figure out the thumb controls, it's a lot further stretch to get to the dash.
Yes, it is.
So recall out on the CVOs, not a huge deal. They're getting it fixed. I've seen comments, people saying that the CVOs are littered with problems, but I can't imagine that. I saw somebody who left a comment, and I haven't researched this, but they said that somebody bought a CVO and the wheel bearing went out on their way home, and Harley-Davidson couldn't get them another wheel bearing. I can't imagine that the wheel bearing for the CVO is really that much different than any other wheel bearing. And I can't imagine that there's that much of a problem to get them. I haven't looked at the part number yet to go see, but a lot of times you get these comments and they're the story they were told by someone, but they may not always be the truth. They may not be the whole story.
Right. One thing about that I was thinking about earlier. So Harley has a couple recalls, and I think they're kind of small, but you think about it. After COVID occurred, we were having all kinds of problems getting anything. So the fact that they've come out of this with just a couple small recalls, I think is kind of impressive.
Well, I have some friends I've talked to who are in the manufacturing industry, and they say they are seeing tons of warranty work on products that were manufactured during COVID, and they're not that the manufacturing process was any worse or anything like that. It was that the materials, the supply chain had problems, and the quality of the supplies were shitty. Nick says long nose semis suck to drive. So I don't know what we're missing in the chat here, but apparently we're talking about semis or something. And maybe somebody's talking about long nose Pete. JS says road glides seem too far away like a long nose Pete. So that's where that came from. Them two guys in there having their own little chat about driving trucks.
Have at it.
Yeah. So the rear shock thing for Harley-Davidson is a bolt, and that they basically didn't look like they had a lock nut on. They drill it out, they put a bigger bolt on it and a lock nut. That's the Softail recall. There's a new clip for this brake line thing. They've had a couple of recalls. Somebody said that they thought that the problem with the Softail recall was aftermarket seats are actually putting pressure on the bolts and causing them to break because the seat's not cut out for that. And it's a change in design. But I mean, the Softail recall goes back to 2018. So there's been plenty of time for that to come to light. If it's only come to light now on a design that's been in place for 4 or 5 years, yeah, that seems like it's probably a pretty small deal, that it's come to light now after 4 or 5 years of models that might be affected. And there's probably something that's related or triggering it. Yeah. And I don't really blame Harley. I think there's a lot of quality control issues with things we've seen during COVID. I know in the industry I work in, we are seeing a lot more failures and problems with equipment that was purchased during COVID.
Yeah. And you hear it all the time. I mean, it's on the news and everywhere.
So what do you think about that, Firecracker?
I don't have a lot to say about it.
I just wanted to put her on the spot.
Hey,
She's
some people
looking down and not paying attention.
Some people say cucumbers taste better pickled.
I was actually looking at a Harley book right here, by the way.
See, she's studying. Good for you.
Not at studying. It's a...
She's shopping. She ain't fucking studying. It's not like it's a motor's manual or a repair manual. She's shopping for Christmas already.
She's putting those saddlebags.
No, actually, I was looking at the different bikes that are in there too. See what my next one's going to be.
Talking about Christmas and shopping and what's going on with the recalls and things and stuff, that kind of leads into this, next topic. The third quarter results are coming out this week. Early reports from people that just report on the motorcycle industry overall indicate that sales are down. I have talked to a couple of dealers that sell bikes during rallies, and their indication has been that sales are down. So that it all fits, it all matches. I'm hearing the same story from everybody. So I expect sales are going to be down the call. Interestingly enough, I've got to read an article today about how Polaris's third quarter results were. And they don't give a lot of detail, but their on-road segment, which includes the Indian motorcycles, is essentially down in the low teens for this quarter, year over year. But they said they increased share. So if they increased market share, but they're down, then that means everybody else is down even more. So we'll be interested to see just how bad sales are. My early numbers I saw said 5 to 7% for Harley-Davidson. There's a thing you can join and get a membership to. I've looked into it, but I can't afford it. It's like $1,000 or $2,000 a year to be a member of this thing. And then you can get access to the data that's reported by the manufacturers. If anybody out there, sugar daddy on the side chat wants to throw us a couple $1,000, I'll put it on a membership, and then we can get all kinds of good inside details across the whole industry, but I don't have that kind of money. And you have to, it's like, a big deal to get into it. So I don't even know if money would buy me into it. You still have to be with a manufacturer or a news agency or someone else to get access. But yeah, early numbers are sales are down. So if sales are down, I don't know about you, but I got this little thing in the mail here, but it's an exclusive offer, an extra $1,000 off on top of whatever deal I can get from a dealership. I've had dealers that are like cold calling me, trying to get me to buy a bike, updating me on their inventory. Deals are still on. 48 months, 1.9% financing, I think, and still, low interest rates on, 60 months and longer if you have good credit. So, I haven't seen promotions like that and as nearly as long, like the period of time that Harley-Davidson's offering them since before COVID. So that's another indication that numbers are not going to be great when third quarter comes out, because they're trying to do everything they can, I think, to promote sales.
Could be a good year next year to buy a bike.
Yeah. And here's a comment about the CVO. Yeah, you have a totally new design, new platform. Yeah, there's going to be some issues. Variable valve timing is a whole new deal for them, kind of. But apparently, I did find a video about this on Harley-Davidson's website, and the variable valve timing that's in the 121 is the same way they've been doing it in the Revolution Max. So they kind of tested in the Revolution Max, and then they brought that into the combustion engine. Well, I don't think everything is blamed on COVID, but I definitely think there are certain things that I know the equipment we got during COVID has had a lot higher failures. It's computer equipment, but the failure rate's way higher for things. We have older equipment that's lasting longer than equipment we bought in 2020.
Yeah, well, a lot of those people got all that free money and got raises on their food stamps and everything else. So now why would they want to go to work? That's why people don't want to work. You hire somebody in and they last long enough just so they can say they tried working somewhere, so they can just quit and go get their unemployment or sit on their butt and get all this free money.
Yeah. Groceries at $500 a week. Inflation, and that's what Harley-Davidson's statement has been, and I think what it's going to be is that the inflation is so high that people are not financing bikes and stuff. So that's going to hurt, and that's what they're going to say. It's the sales part. It's not got anything to do with the quality of the bikes or anything else. They're going to blame it on inflation, and I don't think that that's wrong, but I think that's a part, but that's going to affect the whole industry. So it's going to be interesting to see if everybody has the similar results that Harley does, with sales being flat or down and by the same amount.
And logically, I would say yes. That's what we're going to see.
Harley needs to get with dealers, get rid of the dealer markup on the bikes. Well, there's got to be dealer markup. They can't, the dealers, that's how they make their money, but there needs the price gouging. That's what's got to stop, is the price gouging. The MSRP accounts for the dealer to make a certain amount of money per bike. So,
my guess is that's what he's talking about. When you go to the dealership and the MSRP is $50,000, but they got it on the floor for 60.
Right.
I am hearing about the CVOs.
Right.
That is happening. So.
And that's what he's saying here. Also, the CVOs are still sitting on the floor. And who I do see buying CVOs. Not that individual CVOs, not that, he corrected it right here. But not that individuals aren't buying CVOs, but, Clockworks bought a CVO because they need a CVO to use as a template for building products.
Yes.
Other brands I've seen are buying these bikes that need to develop products around that platform, things like that and stuff. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see what the sales are this month, with the quarter report comes out, third quarter. So we'll definitely be doing a video on that right away. I'm planning on pouring over that stuff. I don't know if I'll have it out by the weekend, because the call is on Thursday, and I really want to go through it and make sure I have a good understanding of it before I just, spit information out. I'd rather be accurate than fast. Hope everybody understands that. But yeah, that's coming. And I guess we'll talk about this. So me and Steve talked about this, and I caught wind of it from the same way the person who made the video did, but somebody made a video about an upgrade coming to the Street Bob in 2024. So it's a video that's out there. If you want to go watch it, you can. I'm not going to link to it. I'm not going to promote it because I just don't think that it's a great video. But the fact is that there was a survey, and in this survey, it asked, what you thought about the pricing should be and these features for a 2024 Street Bob with a 117 in it. So the rumor now is that Harley-Davidson's going to bring out a Street Bob with the 117 on it, cruise control, RDS, things like that. Steve, you watched the video. I didn't. What are your thoughts about that on the Street Bob? I mean, essentially, that's everything they did to the Breakout when they brought it back. They put a 117 in it. They give it, cruise control. They gave it RDRS or whatever, the reflexive defense system. But basically, we're talking about cornering, traction control, all those things and stuff. So do you think the Street Bob is the right bike to bring that to? It's still around the 114?
Well, I'm the wrong guy because I'll be honest, I've never understood the Street Bob. I'm not a fan. I don't really get it. It's kind of like a glorified old school sports
cruiser. It's a basic cruiser for the look. And
yeah, I mean, the two Softails that really speak to me are the lowriders and then the what's the one that you just talked about that's got kind of, it's raked out a little bit. They just brought them back last year. I always forget the freaking name of it.
They brought back the Breakout.
The Breakout.
Yeah,
those two bikes. They speak to me and they say Harley-Davidson.
Well, and I think that's good. Right, the Street Bob. I got a buddy with the Street Bob, and he offered to let Firecracker ride it. He had forward controls put on it. This is I think it's for him. He wanted a bike that was bare. It's not the chopper style like the Breakout, but he didn't want a fairing. He didn't want a bunch of, doodads. He wanted it to look stripped down. He wanted an around town like, clean looking bike, no fairing, no this, no that. And that, was a Street Bob for him. And I don't know. I see more Street Bobs than I see Softail standards. I don't see as many as I see Road Kings or Heritages, though. And they both have, the Heritage has a 114. The Road King was canceled, but it came out as a Highway King, but with the 114. So I expect Harley-Davidson to bring the Road King back with the 114. That's what the Highway King is, with a funny seat and a different paint job and windshield. So I think there's no reason they can't bring the Road King back with the 114. If they did it with the 117, that'd be awesome too. Jay would buy one. He already said so right here with the big, angry face that he wants one. Bama says Road King is the best. I think they have to bring the Road King back pretty quick, but I don't know that the Street Bob's a bad choice. It's on 114, and you've got the Softail standard on the 107. You got the Fat Boy, the Fat Bob, the Heritage, and the Street Bob on a 117. You brought the Lowriders, Lowrider ST, and the Breakout all have the 117. So they got to bring the 117 to something this year. What does it make sense to do? To bring it to a popular bike that sells already, or to bring it to a bike that is maybe lacking in sales to try and encourage sales on that? What's the strategy, Steve?
Well, I answered my own question here. So I own a Slim as well. So yep. I love the Slim. That's what made sense to me over a Street Bob. So maybe that's why I have a problem with Street Bob. So with that said, and the Slim's not available, I'd put the 117 in a Fat Boy. Because that's your rough, tough, I'm going to kick your ass, Harley-Davidson. Softail.
And I thought about that, and I did a little bit of research, but I think the Fat Boy already has cruise. I'd have to go back and double check that, but the Street Bob does not have cruise, so it's a feature it's lacking. I think the Fat Boy got that when it got to 114. So I don't know, but you know what? Next year will not be an anniversary year for the Fat Boy, and they do anniversary editions on the Fat Boy, like they did a 30th anniversary. If they do a 35th anniversary, that won't be next year, it'll be the year after that. So what if you wait 2 years and you do an anniversary edition and you bring the heat and you do the anniversary edition for the Fat Boy? You know, whether you bring the 117 or you bring the 121, maybe.
Yeah. You know, they're wanting to put cruise control on these bikes, apparently. I wonder if that's being pushed because Indian is offering cruise control on their cruisers. I don't know if you know the answer to that or not, but
I don't know the answer to it. I don't really know what the push is. Other than I know, like for Firecracker, when she was shopping for a bike, the Sport Glide has cruise control. That was a plus. That, I mean, you know, that mattered.
yep.
After she had that accident 5 years ago, for a year or two, she had wrist pain. I mean, you don't have that anymore, really, do you, honey?
Not unless we go for, you know, like Sturgis has started bothering me riding up to Sturgis and stuff.
600-700 miles. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I don't think that Harley-Davidson would do a survey about it if they weren't pretty serious. I think the video, Steve, you said he doesn't think it'll be 2024. It'll be after that.
Yeah.
I don't think they would do a video or do a survey about it if they were not somewhat serious about doing it in 2024. I don't think they would do a survey about doing it and bringing it later.
I think he thought that it was too late in the year for them to make a change for the 24s.
Well, and I don't think it's to make a change to 24. That's not what the survey was about. It wasn't, do you like these features? The survey was about, what do you think the price should be for it? So if he didn't make that clear, he didn't really, maybe he didn't understand the perception, but the perception wasn't, you know, what do you think of these features? The perception from the survey was, if Harley-Davidson comes out with this, what do you think that the pricing should be? What do you think's overpriced? What do you think's fair price? What do you think's a bargain price?
Well, and to give him the credit, he does speak of that pretty well. I mean, he brings that up in detail. So I think he's understood. But I would also like to say, for all of us out there that always bitch about Harley-Davidson not listening to us and making all these decisions in a corporate executive office somewhere, I'm glad they're doing these surveys. I was glad to hear that you got that.
Yeah. You know, and it was about rider safety modes, you know, like also rain, street, sport, the traction control modes and all those things, power modes and stuff. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So street glides and road glide specials are getting a 117. I think it makes sense personally for the STs to get a 117 at least. I don't know if the specials will get it this year. Maybe you know something I don't, but I think it makes sense for the STs that are supposed to be the performance bikes, you know, to get the enhanced 117. And in that same survey that talked about the low rider ST, it talked about a 117, but it said enhanced with more horsepower and torque. Doesn't say how they're going to do that or what, but basically a new version of the 117 with more horsepower and torque for the low rider ST. So maybe that's what the STs get, is the enhanced 117, and maybe the specials get a 117 that's not enhanced, and then or they get the 114 still. You know, if you want to know what my bet is, the enhanced is going to be variable valve timing, because that's all in the lower end. So there's no reason they can't do that. It's all, after watching some videos, it's all driven from the lower end. So there's no reason they can't do that variable valve timing that I can see on a existing 117 or something else.
Well, I think it's, you know, pretty clear we all want more torque in the low end. I mean, you know what I mean?
Well,
How do you
we
know
all
about
want more. We all want more, don't we, Firecracker? You ask for more all the time.
Gotta love that torque.
Funny enough, the adaptive cruise is pretty terrible at seeing bikes in front of me. Well, that's because you're riding that BMW R18, Chase. I didn't. The adaptive cruise was disabled when I test rode one. My lady received a survey like that for the Tri-Glide. So, chat going on here. Richard's in the chat here. I'm in on the surveys as well, and you can tell the direction they're going or trying to attract the younger generation that need reason to spend extra money on HD. You know, I mean, can you imagine a younger person and gets on a motorcycle and yeah, there's no cruise control on this one at $23,000.
Yeah, you know, my Slim came without a cruise control, and it was one of the first things I did is I threw it on there, ordered it.
Yeah,
you know.
He thinks that the STs will have a 121. So I don't. Oh, hold it. No ST for next year. I'm lost. It looks like the ST will have a 121, then no ST for next year. So maybe. So you're saying there won't be like a Street Glide, Road Glide ST next year? Only specials? Clarify, please, please. I'm intrigued.
Well, I was going to touch on that. That's 4 different models. I mean, wouldn't Harley maybe be smart to combine the special and the ST together somehow, and make one out of them, and then that way you've only got 3 different options. You got the standard, the whatever you want to call that, and then the CVO. Getting a lot of options here.
Yeah, and real quick to touch on this, I think Chase is talking about the pricing for 11K on entry level bike is too much. Chase, if you're talking about the 500, the only pricing I've seen is Australian pricing, and that's dramatically different exchange rate. It's not anywhere near 11K Australians, nowhere near 11K US. So you probably want to do the conversion if you're seeing a number like 11K from an article that is on an Australian website, because I think that's that Fang test ride I saw mention something like that. But anyway, Richard says that they're talking about the younger generation. They like the tech. They don't want to ride their dad's old bike. You know, Firecracker and me, we were talking about this, and I don't know what it is, but I talked about, I may trade my bagger in next year depending on what they come. And my daughter had a cow. I mean, literally almost broke down in tears. She doesn't want dad to trade off that bike. Not that she wants to ride it, but sentimental value,
Sure.
I don't know what it is, but
I don't see that there should be any sentimental value to it. So
yeah, it's not my first Harley. It's not my first bagger.
She's going to have to suck it up. That's all there is to it.
I got a question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
So the Sportster S, I think, is Harley's attempt at this point in time to try to catch the eye of the younger rider, because it's built for speed. I wonder, do you think they're looking at the numbers and the sales of that bike very closely? And if they see strong enough numbers, do you think they go more to what I'm going to call a crotch rocket style bike? Because that's what the kids want. They want a crotch rocket.
Yeah, but they don't want the low rider, or they don't want the Sportster S. Nobody. I mean, I've never seen one in the wild. Period.
I've seen one.
Okay, you live in a bigger market than I do, but if you want to see what the younger people want, that's a crotch rocket style bike, go look up Saddleman's Super Hooligan bike. They took a Rev Max like Pan America and worked it over with, I think, a whole new swing arm and everything else and tail section. And that is what the Street Fighter needs to look like. That Saddleman Rev Max 1250 worked off the Pan America setup into a Street Fighter. It needs to look like that, not like the Sportster S, in my opinion. Just my opinion.
Well, now you got me fired up. I want to see this bike.
So do you think Harley-Davidson will bring the Road Glide 3 back? Do you think it will come back next year? I don't know that I've seen a lot of them. I don't know what the sales are, and I think sales will be a part of it. But I do think that it's its first year. I hope they don't kill it after just a year and they give it a chance for people to get exposed to it. I mean, not everybody's got the money to go out and just trade today. If they liked it, they might have to, make a plan to get into it next year or the year after that. So hopefully it'll stay for a little bit.
I like the look of it.
Yeah, I do too. So yes, my understanding is no STs for next year, but when they come out, they get 121 specials and 117s, and get 117s. So I'm still not sure I quite understand that.
So is that an option, or is the standard getting a 117 and the special gets?
Yeah, I don't see the standard going from a 107 to a 117. It goes to a 114. So yeah, I'm still a little confused there.
Maybe he can clarify a little bit better for us.
Yeah. Guys and daughters, the boys would dump it on a new one in a heartbeat. Yeah, I don't know. I'm driving, so it takes me a minute to respond. No problem. No problem. Do not wreck. We don't want to lose anybody in the chat from trying to chat while they're driving, but we thank you for your devotion to the show. Just don't die.
Exactly.
I want to take a minute and say thank you to everybody out here in the chat. I mean, we're up around 48 people watching right now. That's pretty good for us. So Steven says here, I race a Sportster on a 1/8 and it's a fast bike, but it is way flawed. Dallas says, did someone say Sportster S? So what's up? Hey, Dallas. Young boys want a Dyna. They all want to be Juan.
Okay. So now he's talking about Thrash and Supply, and all those guys are into Dynas, and he's got a point. They are trying like hell to get those Dynas to attract younger riders. They're doing the risers with the motocross handlebars. They're going to more of a motocross type controls and pegs. So I agree, Richard, and I do like that direction. I think they're getting traction there.
Steven says that the S stock runs 7 seconds in the 8. So
yeah, it's fast as hell. The guy that I rode with one day had it out on our freeway, the loop around the city, and he was hauling ass. And he had a V-Rod. He said it was faster than his V-Rod.
Yeah. My dad's got a V-Rod trike for a fast old man.
Damn.
Well, you don't have to worry about it not getting traction when you got 2 tires in the back that are the size of like they came off of a freaking, van or something.
Steve, didn't you see it at the wedding?
I didn't know.
He unloaded it off the trailer.
I met his dad,
trike.
Sort of, but I didn't see the V-Rod trike.
Yep. It's loud too. You don't want to ride behind him.
I think I was saying something
in the back.
I think I was saying something out loud about, hey, when he kisses her, he better use tongue. And your dad said, yeah, that's my boy or something.
So Nick says, I wouldn't buy a new battery till that dash comes down to the specials. Yes, sir. And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'm waiting to see what they do. Salty Badger's in here. Chat's picking up speed. I got to get faster. Sorry, I'm late. Hey, Salty. Chicago traffic release. Jilly W9 says, well, do not get killed in Chicago traffic. Chase says, if I can click on it, it keeps moving on me here. Did you say something about coming to Eureka next month? Yeah, Chase, first weekend of the month. We're going to come down on Saturday morning.
Not next month, December.
I'm sorry, December. Yeah, it's not November yet. So yeah, beginning of December, we're going to make a trip to Eureka. The girls want to go shopping. You can probably find me at a bar after about an hour after the shopping starts. Maybe I can make it too. We'll see. But just text me or holler at me.
They got a little lingerie shop down there, Mike.
We're also going to see the lights.
Yeah.
I got a quick Chicago story about traffic. So I flew from Kansas City to Chicago. It took 55 minutes from Chicago O'Hare, the airport there, to downtown was like an hour and 15 minutes. So it was quicker to fly from Kansas City to Chicago than it was to drive from the airport downtown.
Yeah. I haven't been to Chicago I only been there once, and I flew in, took a taxi cab to a board meeting, and took a taxi cab back to the airport, caught an early flight out, and got home early. So my experience was running through the airport to make an early flight, mostly. Yeah. I didn't get to see squat, didn't get to do squat besides what I was there for. So Richard says he can see that dash staying on the CVOs for a few years. And I can see them having a different dash for the CVO than the other models. They just like to have a different dash for the specials versus the standards on the Road Glide and Street Glide.
I think that's my biggest question going into next year's models is, do they bring the
coming down the road
dashes over to the other, other models?
So Dallas says, I love the performance baggers. Where they're going with them makes us old guys feel younger without a blue pill or hormone replacement therapy. Jay says, no, you don't want to ride behind my dad's V-Rod trike. Emma, I'll see if we can make it by the Rock and Pig. We'll be there Saturday night, so we'll figure it out. I remember that being a chat at the end of the wedding day. I always look for an excuse to get Sarah on a cold bike day. So maybe you can come over and visit us or something. So I drive the long way around the lake to avoid Chicago. So we have a friend here who's local, and he says the motor company needs to build a water-cooled big twin in a touring frame. And by water-cooled, I'm assuming he means a Rev Max, because they are doing water-cooled, in some of the M8 engines. They have some what they call twin cooled, but they have water in them as well. The new 121, if you didn't know it, is a water cooled engine also. That 121 actually has a radiator and water cooling. There's a whole video on Harley-Davidson's website. Maybe you should put that out there and help people understand. And it's a whole new water cooling system. So on the 121, the new water cooling system actually pipes the water to the rear head first, and
which
then which is hotter, and then goes through the rear head to the front head, and then comes back into the radiator system. So, yeah, and Richard said big twins are already water cooled, and I don't think all 117s are water cooled, but I'm as far as I know, like the lowrider STs aren't, and stuff like that. But I like the CVOs are twin cooled for several years now. I think some of the Tri-Glide, some of those with the lower fairings built onto the bike had the water cooler in the lowers at one time. Now the new CVO, it's not in the lowers; it's right below the oil cooler, or right above it. There's two right there together, and you can see different patterns in the fins. One's an oil cooler and one's a water cooler.
Yeah, the new engine's the Revolution, right? Is it the Rev? What do you call it?
The Rev Max engine is what you see in the Pan America and the Nightsters.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta think that's the direction they're going to.
Well, I've been thinking about doing a video on it, but I really think the 121 can be the engine that really buys them some time. When this new Revolution Max engine came out, there were videos done about how that's going to save Harley. And I don't know if that's what's going to save Harley. I mean, maybe eventually, but it's not in the short term, done a lot. I mean, the Pan America's done okay and stuff, but that's still a small portion of the numbers compared to touring bikes. Putting a water-cooled 121 variable valve timing engine in may buy them a lot more time with the EPA and with a combustion engine than what they've had to look forward to prior to this.
Well, Mike, I want to get your opinion. I've watched several videos of other guys that were in Sturgis and got the opportunity to ride the CVOs, and they felt like even going from 5th to 6th and then punching it in 6th, they got more response than they were expecting. Did you feel like you got that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the variable valve timing 121 has a better low and mid-range power than the previous 117 did, and part of that is because of the variable valve timing can adjust for different RPMs and provide power easily or more easily at different RPMs than what the old, technology allowed for, as I understand it. But I thought the power was great on it. I mean, it had a really good pull from 2,000, 2,200 RPM up. So, I mean, I couldn't find anything wrong with it. We didn't get to do a lot of interstate pulling, so I never really pulled 6 gear hard. I mean, we went from one exit to the other in Sturgis, which isn't very far, and the cops are heavy. And of course, I was, on a guided ride, so I wasn't about to pass the guy in front of me guiding the ride. But they did, let us get out on the interstate and run a little bit.
Did you get to wear your little safety vest, with all the fluorescent colors on it and look all badass?
No, I didn't have to wear any special clothes. I wore my own helmet, I wore my armored flannel till it got hot and took that off. But, so I think it's a great bike. I like the technology it's there. I just don't, unfortunately, have a CVO budget. If I could get about 50,000 more subscribers, between now and January, then I could probably afford a CVO, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. I got 6.
You got 6 subscribers? Oh, yeah. I forgot to tell you, my Bagger Bader started a YouTube channel. So, if anybody'd like to go subscribe, we'll get a link, throw it in the chat. Somebody go find that for me. But Bagger Bader has his own YouTube channel, and we need to throw a link in the chat because we could double it quite easily tonight.
And just to let everybody know, I am never going to be riding in the Ozarks. It's just really for me to have fun, share a little bit of stuff when I'm out on a run, and that's probably all it's going to be.
He says that now.
I know how hard you work on this deal, man. There's no way I'm putting this kind of effort into this.
Famous last words. So, I don't know. We'll see what Harley-Davidson comes. That is the big question: is what is coming? What features are rolling down from the CVOs to the other models? So I don't have an answer for that. I know if it was me, I would make the 121 variable valve timing stay with the CVO for another year. If we're going to keep ST models, I do a 117 variable valve timing and then do a 117 standard in the specials. And, then for the guys that say, I just got to have performance, they would have the inverted front forks. They would have the 117 variable valve timing. And then CVO owners would still feel like they have something special that not everybody else gets. So I do a 121 CVO, a 117 variable valve timing ST, then a 117 special, and a 114 standard, and I'd get the 107 out the door.
Are you going to put I'm sorry.
It's 6-7 years on the 107. I think it's ready to go.
Yeah, it needs. Yeah, I agree. Bye.
Yeah, and so like Richard just said here, I can see a new screen, but it being smaller, like 6.5 with the ride modes instead of that 12-inch screen, something like that. So, and that's something they could do and keep the CVO special for a little longer, and yet bring some of that. You would have that, maybe that style fairing, but not get all the display stuff. Maybe you wouldn't get inverted front forks. But, that's hard to say because that's all tied to the triple tree and the forks and all that. And they shaved a lot of weight off the new bikes and stuff. 30 pounds, and that's a lot. I mean, it's not like I could drop 30 pounds in a year. I've tried. I should, but I haven't.
No comment on me.
All right. So any other questions from the side chat? You got anything you want to know? What you think? The concern with variable valve timing. I wonder if the Moco has addressed the crank run out problem. I don't know. I do know that, there's various opinions on that as far as how bad it is or how often it happens or whatever else. The variable valve timing runs off of that whole setup in the lower end. So, there's a lot of people I've talked to that are mechanics that deal with the variable valve timing, and they say it's a problem for upgrades, things like that. I asked Harley-Davidson if it was going to, limit the ability to do stages and to do kits and do upgrades. And they said no, that there would be upgrade kits available for variable valve timing engines. So I think like a lot of things, we're just going to see how it has to shake out, see who's early adopters can, beta test this for us. I wished I had the money to be one, but I'm not.
Yeah. I got a question for you and the chat. In 2024, what bike would you love to see come back? I know mine would be the Deluxe. I still can't believe the Deluxe, they quit making the Deluxe, but that would be mine.
Firecracker, what would be your 2021 bike? If they were to bring one back that they've canceled.
I guess maybe the Sport Glide, but I probably won't buy another Sport Glide. So I don't know that it really matters to me unless maybe the Road King. I mean, other than that, I mean, I think my next step will be a Street Glide. So
can't blame you there.
Next step is she wants Daddy's bike.
No,
because she wants a CBO.
You seen mine's gotta be purple. So
true.
And they're coming out with purple a lot more. When we were at what was it, BBB, and we seen quite a few purple road glides, and before that we'd seen a white and purple. I know there was a couple of years they did the white and purple, but there was a brand new street glide or road glide that was white and purple. So I feel like the purple's starting to come back around a little bit.
So yeah, long-term durability and oil issues with the variable valve timing. Auto industry is still fighting it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, I do know that the variable valve timing that they're using, they worked with Borg Warner on. So it's not like they just pulled it out of the hat themselves. They have worked with other, tech companies that have worked with this technology for a decade in the automotive industry and stuff to try and get it right. So I think they're trying to do the right thing. The question is whether the implementation is going to turn out to be what we hope and what we want.
Thank you, Wagonator.
Yeah, Wagonator, can you throw a link in the chat to his channel since you found it? The Night Train. The Deluxe is the Deluxe is a bike that I heard a lot of complaints about when they killed it. I didn't hear a lot of complaints about the Sport Glide, but the Sport Glide is still popular in Europe and stuff like that. So I don't know that it is a bad idea for it to get a 114 or something and maybe come back with the 114 like they did the Breakout kind of.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
I'm glad they brought the Breakout back. That's your Harley that's got raked out a little bit, give you that chopper look. I think that bike.
If I'm keeping my bagger and I'm picking a new bike for next year, is that the question? Keeping what I got?
That's the one, isn't it?
Okay. So if I'm keeping what I got and I'm picking a new bike next year, probably the Breakout. Lowrider ST is, I rode them. They were fun. I don't know that they really invoked a lot of emotion in me. I rode the Breakout. It was cool. It rode better than I thought it would for a fat tire. So, that'd probably be the bike I would pick out of the lineup currently if I'm not picking a touring bike.
I agree. I have the Slim, which I turned into a Dirty Tail, which I love. But if I was to get rid of that bike, that's the bike I would pick.
So Jack said, if they brought back the Deluxe, would you buy one? Steve, that's the question.
For a second bike, absolutely. That thing reeks Harley-Davidson. I still remember the first time I ever saw one. I about shit my pants. I was like, wow, that's a badass bike.
So Blackline said the Crossbones, but we're not going to see a Crossbones because Crossbones is a Springer front end, And I don't think we're ever going to see Harley bring another Springer back because they sold all the tooling off and they quit making the Springers. So, I mean, in a dream world, maybe, but I don't, realistically, I don't see them ever bringing a Springer front end back out.
Yeah.
The motor company is evolutionary, not revolutionary. And I get that. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. I wish they were a little less revolutionary on the electric front, personally. So
yeah, you're not a fan of that electric bike, are you?
Here's my thing. I understand that Harley-Davidson wants to lead in electric, and that's what they say and everything else. But if Honda doesn't want to lead in electric, what the fuck are you thinking? Because Honda can damn well afford it.
Yeah.
And they've chosen not to. And you are. And I just, I don't think the technology is there. I'm not sure this technology is even ever going to get there. Now we're talking H2 and nitrogen or hydrogen or something. And, whatever, there's a whole nother, idea now for, eco fuels and things like that. And I don't think the battery technology is anytime soon going to be there for motorcycles. And I think they're going to have to develop it and adapt a lot further along for it to be reliable or feasible for a motorcycle. I don't, I guess if you live in town and you can, ride 50 miles or 100 miles and take it home and charge it, that's fine. But, I don't see that as a popular thing with a motorcycle, not in the US.
I agree. I don't think
it's not why we buy motorcycles, is to commute to work.
Yeah. The battery, I think the battery it's going to take for that to really sell hasn't been created yet.
Right. So Chase asked it on the financials, they made a separate company. They didn't make it a separate company exactly. They did spin it off, and Harley-Davidson was a majority shareholder, and then investors pulled out, and they're a much bigger majority shareholder than they planned to be. But it is its own separate company, and that's why it is separately reported in the financials. Richard says that Honda is not a leader. They follow and do it with better thought. And that's my thing, though. I mean, Honda can afford to be the leader, and they don't. I don't think Harley-Davidson can afford to be the leader. BMW, Ducati, none of them are been as pushing forward to this as Harley-Davidson has. BMW's got, I think, the CE3, and it's like a scooter-looking electric motorcycle prototype. I think Ducati said, fuck no, we're not getting into this game at all. BMW makes cars. They've got big pockets, as a company. So if they wanted to fund research and development, they have more, I think, resources for that, just like Honda does. And, they're not going at it at the level that Harley went at it. And I just think that it was probably, I get the idea, but I don't think the technology's there. And I think they put a lot of money into something that is not going to pan out, my opinion.
Do you think Harley might have got snookered into it a little bit? Maybe they caught wind that somebody else was trying to jump on it, and they thought,
no. Jochen Zeitz has been a big push for the electric motorcycle, for green technology, for the company to be zero on the whole EPA thing. Like, you're not putting out more pollutants and you're planting trees or whatever. And he was on the board long before he was CEO. He's been involved with Harley for years that people may not realize. And I think he was a big push for it. And before he became CEO, and I think that's why the push after he became the CEO stayed. And I just don't think the technology was there for them to lead in electric. I don't think it fits their core market. Huh?
Wasn't he on the board of Puma Shoes before Harley?
Yeah, he turned Puma Shoes around.
Makes total sense, right? You go from tennis shoes to motorcycles. But no, I'm joking around. But I think he has done some really good things.
I think he's kept the company in a pretty viable position from a business perspective. I don't know that I agree with everything he's done. No. And I don't think, like I said, Livewire is probably my biggest thing that, if they cut 5 models of Softails since he became CEO, And I think the live wire was the one that should have been the first one to been put on hold. You know, if we're going to focus on, and these are his words, not mine, we're going to focus on the most profitable models and during the COVID and during this whole thing, we have to focus on the most profitable models and rewire the company, and we have to have a strategy. And that's why they cut the Sportsters that were, loss leaders essentially and stuff like that. So if we are so focused from our core product that we're cutting out the ones that don't make good business sense, then I think you put Livewire on hold, and they didn't do that because I don't think it makes good business sense, but because it's green and it fits the agenda or the narrative of, we're going to lead in electric, then they kept it. And I'm just, I can't get behind it. It's just,
what? So since you're the financial guru here on the old interwebs, I'd love to know how much they are spending a year on the live wire part of the business. Hopefully it's not a lot. I mean, they've got the prototype.
It loses money. It just loses less money each quarter. Each quarter it's getting better and better and closer, but it loses money every quarter and has.
So it tells me they're cutting down on how much they're spending on that division, which is obviously what I want to hear.
Or that the technology is becoming more affordable, so they're losing less.
True.
So Zan said Ford is back now, the EV market. Richard said, I'm sure they got some government funding to create a solution. And maybe those are the cases, and we don't know that. This whole illusion of Cali's emissions is going to fail flat on their face when and they know it deep down. So he's a visionary, not really a bike guy. Yes, he's great at marketing. Hess great at marketing, so I assume that's great at marketing.
I would agree with that.
I'm leaving town on a bike. Shannon is going with me. Livewire would suit me for around town. If I'm leaving town on a bike, Shannon is going with me. Livewire would suit me for around town. Probably a tax thing, Nick says. Getting a credit for an EV. Imagine riding in highway traffic when battery goes low voltage limp mode. I'm not against electric bikes or cars. I just think bikes are emotional for most riders in the U.S. I don't ride to get to a place efficiently. I ride to get to a place funly. And that's that is the attitude in the U.S. It's not about commuting. It's about an emotional experience, an emotional thing. It's for joy and weekends and fun. And, it's why I think the Livewire doesn't fit the core audience. And if they were going to do the Livewire, it probably should have never been branded as Harley-Davidson to begin with.
Yeah. All you have to do is watch any YouTube channel that's geared toward motorcycling, and you're going to almost on every video, you're going to hear them talk about how mentally it recharges you when you're out riding, how it clears your mind, the freedom
Therapy.
sort of thing.
Therapy.
It's all, absolutely.
And, I saw a video about the Livewire early on. They were talking about the experience of riding it, and you can hear the birds and you can hear nature and you can hear all these things. And, what I thought was really ironic is they're taking a Livewire that has no range and riding it out in the country and telling you how great the experience is. But then the fact is it's pitched as a urban commuting bike and urban riding because of the range. So you're never going to get out and hear the birds sing. What you're going to hear is the guy next to you in a car playing rap music or, whatever it is, or somebody bitching at somebody out the car window. Hey, you bastard, you cut me off. You're going to hear all that. That's what you're going to hear.
Yeah. What they didn't show is you pushing it back into town, right?
It's I saw another video, and I don't want to call the channel out particularly, but they were talking about aspects of motorcycle engines and different things and stuff. And they had this whole video about a certain aspect and, why one thing's better than another or whatever, and you may not realize it, but they left this whole other dynamic that's related to it out of the video whatsoever. They never even talked about it. And I think it's the same thing with the live wire. Oh, you can hear the birds and you can hear the wind rustling through the trees next to you as you ride by on a live wire. But the reality is the market that the live wire fits isn't going to get to experience that 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Richard says it was a marketing exercise, and 50 years from now, they'll still be the first to mass produce on an EV bike. Well, that may be.
Could be.
But, I don't like paying for it right now. I'd rather somebody else pay for it in 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I'm a stockholder, I'm probably not real excited about, them spending money on R&D in the electric vehicle division.
Yeah. So I'm 64 on my scooters. I'm that 12-year-old with playing cards flapping in the spokes all over again. That's exactly what you feel like.
Hell yes.
Bike's cool, but the battery tech not there yet. Yeah. HD starts on the ground floor on the EV, so not to play catch up, well, I don't know. I just don't feel like EV was a great fit for Harley-Davidson, but that's my personal opinion. I don't know anybody I ride with that will buy it for anything other than a commuter bike, and I think the price tag is way out of range for a commuter bike. You could buy a small 600cc combustion engine, and no matter what gas prices are, you're probably going to break even over the lifetime, no matter what.
Most of us are on a budget. We have to be careful how we spend our money. I think if I was going to go electric, I would spend my dollar on a car, not a motorcycle.
Well, yeah, we don't live somewhere where you can ride every day of the year either.
Right. That's part of why I just said that, because, with an electric car, at least you can use it 12 months a year.
JS says 15K is way too much. And that's what it's down to. It started out higher than that. This Del Mar is going to, yeah. All right, guys. Is there anything anybody else wants to talk about? Any other questions, 2024 stuff, or what models should be brought back? Now, Steve, if they bring a deluxe back, are you going to start shopping?
No, because I've got my dirty tail. But I would love to see it back.
But you could sell the dirty tail and buy a deluxe and build a new one.
I like my dirty tail, man. I look sexy on that thing. And I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. And I think that's one of the things that no matter what, like buying a bike is, for some of us, cyclic. We're not going to buy a bike every year, even if they come out with a bike next year that I absolutely love. Yeah. If they come out with a bagger next year that replaces my bagger with new technology, then yeah, in the next year or two, that's when I'm in the market. 3 years ago, I wasn't in the market. I was still paying mine off. 4 or 5 years ago, I definitely wasn't, because I'd only had it a year or two. I did, so I think that's that thing is also, some of it's just going to be cyclic. For some of us, when was the last time you bought a bike? How much can you afford to spend? Are you due for another bike, or are you not due for another bike yet? If they come out with a purple, Road Glide next year or something, I know somebody who would be looking for a used version in a few years, probably, once hers is paid off. All right. Anything else for anybody before we climb out of here?
I think we solved all the world problems tonight.
Well, I don't know about all that, but appreciate everybody signing in tonight. We still got 44 people in here. It's been a great conversation. I enjoyed talking about this stuff with everyone. What's Harley going to call a stage one on the live wire? A full charge. So when it gets down to 25%, you're going to go into battery conserve mode, just like your phone. Do you want to turn on battery saver? Can you imagine that going down the road? Do you want to turn on battery saver?
220, 221, whatever it takes.
Somebody said maybe a water-cooled V4 180 horsepower sport cruiser to bring in young riders into the fold of HD. Also, $50K for a CEO. Come on, for CEO, it should be CVO. Yeah. JS wants to know if I think Harley-Davidson will bring back the Dyna FXR style frame. I don't think they will. I just don't. For them to get rid of it meant closing a plant. For them to bring it back is going to mean, expanding a plant or production lines or something else.
Well,
find it hard to believe. And everybody who buys a new Softail says it handles better.
Yeah. So my 17 Slim had the old suspension. It sucked ass, just like everybody knows. So I put a swing arm on it and I put air ride on the back. So if you got a Softail and you want more of a Dyna experience, that could be your way to get it.
Or you could just do what I did. If you all didn't see the video, it's I bought a new bike video. You can go find it on my channel a couple weeks ago. Just buy a 24-year-old Dyna and put a little money into it. I mean, one of the things I talked about in that video was what I was going to do for suspension, because it has aftermarket slammed shocks on it. It's way too low. I got some suspension in the mail tonight, so stay tuned. I got to get it installed, do a review. It may be a month before all that comes out, by the time I have time to record it and edit it and everything else. But it's going to be a surprise, because it's not something I originally considered. And then, things just worked out and I took a chance on something. So, cool. So that's how, if you want a Dyna, the fact is you can go out and you can buy up to a 2016 or whatever it was. They made the Dynas 2017. I think it might have been somewhere in there. But it's about the time the Milwaukee 8 came out. They killed the plant in Kansas City there and stuff. So you can buy a Dyna that's 10 years old. You can buy a Dyna that's 20 years old. Fact is, if you buy a Dyna that's more than 10 years old, you're going to save a lot of money, because it's already depreciated most of what it's going to depreciate. And, so if you want that Dyna look, you don't need Harley to make you a new one. And if you don't think that you can have fun on a 20-year-old Dyna, I'm going to prove you wrong, because even though it's only got a 5-speed, it'll still pull a hill at 100 mile an hour.
Yep. And to go back to that one guy when he was talking about the thrash and supply, I mean, those guys are, they're putting stage 3s in those, and they haul ass, and they wheelie up and down the street. So, yeah.
JS says, I'm going with suspension technology shocks after Christmas. JS, I priced those. I considered that. I did keep those guys in mind. I hope you're getting them from H2. So Crystal and Drew. But that twin cam's rule, Richard says, I mean, I'm running a twin cam 103 in my bagger and a twin cam 88 in a Dyna. I also have a couple of Evos. I have a bike I haven't showed on the channel yet. Steve knows about it and Firecracker does, but it's an Evo engine, and it'll be showing up on the channel sometime in the next month. And it is my latest, Harley-Davidson purchase. But it's kind of a unique situation and a unique purpose, and purpose-built motorcycle is what it's going to be. Is this live or Memorex? Paul, it is live. An hour and a half late, but I'm here. And man, you're going to have to go back and rewatch everything, because we're about to break it down. I haven't had dinner yet. I better feed Firecracker, or I'll be sleeping on the couch. So I hope everybody's had a great night. Thanks for tuning in. And, we'll just trying to be back in 2 weeks. Would you guys like to see more special guests? What do you like? Leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite part of the show is, whether it's the news or just a chit chat about what's in the news or what's going on with Harley-Davidson, or our opinions, or, whatever it is. I've been trying to think about at least every month getting one special guest or something. So if there's somebody you'd like to see on the channel, leave me a comment. on the actual video, not in the chat, because I can't go back and see the chat as easily, but leave me as a comment on the video in the comments where I can go back and read it. And maybe if we get a whole bunch of people to say the same name, I can convince that person to get on the channel. All right, guys. Jay says I found an Evo for a thing at a place. Yeah, there you go. I hear you. I got you. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight and hanging out with us and stuff. Y'all be safe. Keep on riding, and we'll see you before Thanksgiving.